We've completed 2 years in the St. Louis Cardinals franchise, and this was a very successful season. We brought up our win total from 79 in Season 1 to 90 with a playoff appearance. And we did so because so much of the core of this roster ended up having incredible seasons, and these players should be well equipped to take us into the future and have some chances at winning a championship. Players like Lars Nootbaar, Jordan Walker, Brendan Donovan had massive seasons, far beyond what I expected. I did not think this was going to be a playoff season, but when the pieces all fall into place as they did this year, where so many players played lights out, you have a chance at putting together seasons like we just had. Now I'm excited for today because we have a team that I now view as pretty solid, and we have a lot of salary coming off the books now with Steven Matz, Kyle Gibson, Miles Michaelis, Tommy Edman, a lot of players becoming free agents. I am not afraid to spend some money in free agency today. I have some needs in mind for us, and we'll get started here pretty quickly. First off, we lost to the Phillies in the Wild Card Series in a thrilling 15-inning game. The Phillies would ultimately go on to win the National League pennant. Against the Texas Rangers in the World Series, they would go 7 games. Leody Taveras hit a first-inning 3-run homer, a part of a 4-run inning. Aaron Nola got chased out of that game pretty quickly, and the Rangers would secure a second World Series title, their second in 3 years, and are the new champions heading into Season 3. The Rangers have a lot of star power. Corey Seager was their big free agent addition. They've got Adolis Garcia, Tanner Scott as their closer, Evan Carter, Jonah Heim behind the dish, Josh Young. It's a really fun team, and it came together pretty quickly. I look at our roster here, and I think if we can nail this offseason and the top prospects that we have coming up live up to the expectations, we have a chance to build a winner pretty quickly, just as the Rangers did. Now, I think we have a chance for some of these players to contribute next year, but I can't put all of our eggs in that basket. For instance, having 3 pitchers in the starting rotation all become free agents, I'm not going to ask 3 rookies to fill in those spots. Here's what I think the blueprint is for a successful offseason today. We need a legit number 3 starter. We need someone to adequately replace Steven Matz, who's coming off a very good season. But given the age of this rotation, I've thought from day one that we need to focus on getting replacements ready and turning this part of the roster over. We have guys coming up. Tink Hence, Tekoa Roby, Dylan Lesko. These guys haven't shown they're ready yet. So I'm not looking for all these spots to get filled in by those young players. I'd like us to go after a solid middle of the rotation arm. I'd also like to look for a more value-oriented bottom of the rotation signing. Basically, I'm hoping that we can fill in the 5 spot with what we have down at AAA. Potentially, multiple players could get roles beating out that lower tier starter I hope to obtain. I like our lineup. It's hard not to like the way this season went, as we were top 10 in so many categories and did such an impressive job. Now, we're going to have J.D. Davis, Tommy Edman, Dylan Carlson become free agents. My plan today, I would like to go after an outfielder. Brendan Donovan, to me, is not the ideal defender there in left field. He doesn't have great speed. We've seen that lack of range come back to hurt us a few times. He's not a bad overall fielder, but I want somebody with more range. And ideally, Donovan would be somewhere in the infield, but I'm also not against DHing him. If we can get a legit, borderline top 10 starter at that spot. But someone who's a legit corner outfielder can give us some power and maybe has more range, ideally has more range than Donovan. Now, I'm open to spending some money in free agency today, but I'd like those players to have more than just a year or two of value. I want to add to our core, not look for one-year mercenaries as much. And I know we have even more money coming off the books in the future. Sonny Gray's money is done after next year, Nolan Arenado the year after. I'm willing to backload some of these deals, knowing that we'll be able to build a good roster for next year, and then as our young players naturally take over roles from guys like Sonny Gray and Nolan Arenado, then those backloaded deals become very easy to manage. I know we're about to get a lot younger, but I don't want us to force us into that route right away. I want it to be something that can happen over the next couple years as guys get ready, so we don't ruin the development of some of our most promising prospects. As we look toward the offseason now, I have Tommy Edman listed at shortstop. Oftentimes, I'm reluctant to change guys' positions in here because when the rosters are set by the developers, the secondary positions can be like this. Brendan Donovan can play all the positions besides catcher. Similarly, Tommy Edman's a very versatile player, but the second I wanted to change him to a primary shortstop and not center fielder, now I'm not able to make every position secondary for him. Now, it's not a huge deal when a guy is starting because starters don't typically play all over the diamond, but it does matter for role players and for future flexibility. So I wanted to move guys like Jordan Walker to first base, but I don't want to lose all the flexibility that I would get. Now, I think that the outfield plus first base would work just fine for Walker, but in the case of Edman, I can't make him like the utility guy all over again. So I did shortstop plus outfield, thinking that would be the best blend. I will lose third base eligibility for Jordan Walker, but let's be real, he's not going to play third base at any point in this series. His defense isn't good enough. But we'll list him at first base now after becoming a Gold Glove left fielder. It's time for a new challenge. Yeah, that's ridiculous. Why don't we get this offseason underway? Looking forward to what we can do with this team today. But we're going to have to hire a new manager, it looks like. Here are retirements, and Miles Michaelis decides to hang up the cleats. He ended up finishing out his contract here in St. Louis, spent a long time with the Cardinals. I was not going to look to bring him back. The regression has been far too steep. But Michaelis retires. And the other big names here, we've got Chris Sale. That's a pretty serious one, down to a 64 overall. Charlie Blackmon retires. I've always liked Charlie and his skill set, and I have a friend who's a big Charlie Blackmon fan as well. And Mad Max makes it to the Hall of Fame with 214 wins and 3,000 plus strikeouts. Looks like he winded up back with the Nationals. It looks to me like one of the best managers we could hire would be Rolando McQueen, who would mainly help out our arm accuracy and arm strength, and has the A attribute grade. Trying to offer a bit more than usual for the coaching staff so that we don't have to go to like our second, third, fourth option a bunch. And then we got a long list of exclusive free agents, and it starts with Tommy Edman, Matt Moore, J.D. Davis. But I don't know that I want to offer a contract to many right now. Andrew Kittredge has been mostly solid, but I think at 36 years old with this regression, it's time to look for more bullpen help. And in general this offseason, I've wanted to hopefully add a very quality pitcher that when he's healthy, he's going to be one of those top guys that you look to bring out. I want to strengthen our righties in the bullpen this year. So right off the bat, I think I'll offer a deal to Matt Moore. He's 36, but coming off some really good seasons, expecting that he can keep this up for longer. So he's looking at $4.5 million a year, and I'm pretty good around that number. It is possible Tommy Edman does return, but I'd like to see what's out there in free agency before offering him a deal. But last season was really promising for him. I'm mostly excited, though, to make some changes to this roster. I've been looking forward to that. Brian Abreu has been acquired from the Astros. So we have a trade here. Seattle and Houston work out a deal. Abreu, an 88 overall starter, traded for Lazaro Montes and Jonathan Clase. Interesting move there in the West. I want to see some more trades go down. We'll see if it happens. It's just been really uncommon to this point. Oh, that's an impressive list of names becoming free agents. We got Blake Snell, Dylan Cease, Zach Gallen, Kyle Tucker. So before we go into free agency, I do want to see how much money we're working with first. Right now, we have over $100 million available in our budget, but let's take care of our renewals and all those internal contracts. We have had a few more guys make debuts, so that's a handful more players that are going to make about $750,000, including Tink Hentz and Takoa Roby. I also had some guys I was experimenting with. Here is Will Brennan. We did manage to develop his skills against lefties last year a little bit, so I'll probably go for another year of this experiment. You know, I have some plans in the outfield. I've talked about Dylan Carlson and even more with Victor Scott, but I want to have guys at AAA that if things don't work out as I hope, that we have options. Andre Palante has a little bit more expensive renewable deal, but after a year of developing a bit more at AAA and how hungry we are to find some good righty relievers, with Palante only 27 years old, we will be renewing this contract and hoping this year is the one we've been waiting for from him. And then for the big list of players that are arbitration eligible, what I wanted to do this time is just offer straight up contracts and then arbitration as we approach the deadline if they don't like those offers. So we start off here, Nolan Gorman. He's looking for $3.6 million. Brendan Donovan has 2 years team control, and he doesn't need a huge contract now, but if you project out to the next few years, then you're talking about almost a $10 million player, which is definitely fair for his production last year, probably even too low. It just seems that contracts in this game are lower than they should be across the board. And then we have Jojo Romero here, and I've liked him a lot. He's continued to improve pretty rapidly. He's on the last year of arbitration. I'd like to offer him a multi-year contract. So I'm thinking here like a 3-year deal. If we did one, he'd want $3.3 million. But I want to keep around a guy as solid as him at only 29 years old on a multi-year deal if possible, which would lock up him and Ryan Helsley. So we'll go 20.5 over 3 years. Dylan Carlson. We are not going to be offering him a contract right now. He would be looking for about $4.2 million. I'm prepared to give Victor Scott an opportunity this year. I will be giving Joe Adell this 1-year deal. He spent all of last year at AAA, and he increased his contact versus lefties by 10. That earns him another year in our organization. Then you got Christian Pache, who spent like the entire year on the big league roster coming off the bench. Did not have a great year at the plate. But I'm still going to give him an offer. We have plenty of space right now to have some players that might make more than a lot of other minor league talent, but I like having the options and thinking of the possibilities with some of these players. So that gives us pending offers of $31 million, projected surplus at $108. So we've got a little over $70 million to potentially play with here in free agency, which I think can absolutely get us an outfield upgrade, help bolster the pitching staff. Why don't we see what's possible here? Just wanted to set the 40-man roster quick, and we definitely don't want to risk losing Chris Rotundo. A little bit older prospect, but high potential. Don't want to lose him. So he will get added to the 40-man roster, which kind of gives him now a chance at cracking the big league roster, but I don't think that's very likely. Plus 15, though, on power versus lefties is nice. And Thomas Ajazi at 23 years old. Maybe we don't take a chance there either. We're going to be starting some of these MLB clocks then, and we're going to be adding him to the 40-man. Here is free agency for the Season 3 offseason. We got Vladimir Guerrero at the top of the board. He was the face of the A's franchise for a long time. You've got Kyle Tucker, who's getting a monster offer right now from the Houston Astros. Why is Vladdy only getting a 6-year, $70 million offer? He won't take that. Bo Bichette. What's going to happen to the Toronto Blue Jays here in this series? Zach Gallen, Blake Snell, Dylan Cease, Josh Naylor, Chris Paddock. Those are the headline names. I see Lane Thomas here. Could he be a good fit? Has the speed, good arm, hits lefties well. I would like more than 58 contact against righties. He's coming off a strong season. If you look at like MLB averages, like a 242 is about league average. A 316 on-base percentage, I think, would be a little bit under league average. And he is like a 1-2 WAR player. And I don't know. I guess I expect more than that for 86 overall. But if we check out the outfielders, there is Alex Verdugo. It does seem we have a lot of lefties, so I think ideally we'd bring in a righty. But Verdugo, very good player. Then Cedric Mullins is the top center fielder available. Kyle Tucker is the big name. Could we handle that kind of a salary, though? $216 over 9 years. That's a huge commitment. But Tucker is a very high-level hitter. He's produced extremely well for a while now. He was due this kind of a contract. It shouldn't be a surprise. And unlike other lefties, Tucker hits lefties like he's a righty. So it doesn't even matter that he would add to a lineup already with a few solid lefties in there. And let's project maybe Victor Scott even as a starter in center. I'm really going to have to think about that. And the other thing, too, is these 5 players here all received the qualifying offer. So if we sign any of them, I believe we'd be losing a second-round pick. And I don't know what happens if you sign multiple players to the qualifying offer. I'm probably not about to find out. So where I think we're going to start free agency then is by offering a deal to Tommy Edman. There aren't a lot of great shortstops out there. I'm not as interested in Bo Bichette. Edman was solid last year. And ideally, we'd have Mason Wynn become the starting shortstop, but the steps to getting there just haven't been taken very quickly, and we can't count on it, especially with the team coming off a 90-win season. We have higher expectations. So I want to look at bringing back Tommy on a short contract and hope that Mason Wynn develops to be ready sooner than later. Then for starting pitching, outside of the qualifying offer players, you've got Chris Paddock, who has developed really well in this series with Minnesota, coming off 2 very productive years, especially this last one. He is an elite walk preventer, so he's someone we have to consider. Michael King, Nestor Cortez, Zach Eflin, and there is Ranger Suarez. I knew this would be his free agent year, and I have been very interested in potentially adding him. When I look at what Steven Matz brought to the table, I think Suarez is kind of like a better version of Steven Matz. The strikeout numbers here on Suarez aren't great, and they have been in a multi-year decline, but I like his skill set. We got to see him pretty closely in a couple games late in the year, including the postseason. And I wanted to target a starter under $10 million a year. So I think 4 years is a high commitment for a 30-year-old pitcher. I do have a lot of interest in Suarez. Stroman's only looking at a $6.7 million offer here from New York. Looks like he's coming off a year that kind of bounced back from 2024. Advanced numbers are solid. Yeah, Marcus Stroman could also be one of those guys we target. I even looked into trading for Luis Robert, and even for a lot of our top prospects, you're not getting Luis Robert from Chicago. And that's with him, by the way, coming off a couple down years. So I don't know what it takes to get Luis Robert, but I don't think that we can make that happen. What a move that would have been, though. If I run the trade finder, all they want is one of the best pitching prospects, one of the best shortstop prospects, and last year's first-round pick, Daryl Moreno. That's not my style. I'm going to have to consider the Kyle Tucker move. 9 years, $216. I always like to give that player option at the end of a deal, and in the case of Tucker, I'd want this backloaded, but like year 9 might scare me a little bit. I don't know. We'll see. I have the offer out there that leaves us still with a decent bit to look at some pitchers and maybe look at the bullpen a little bit. I have interest here in Hunter Harvey. He is a righty, 31 years old, and this is where I'm trying to replace Kittredge's role in the bullpen. Harvey coming off a very good 2025 season. His FIP the last 3 years has been very consistent, doesn't give up too many home runs. A lot of interest there, and I'd be willing to go multi-year on this deal. 2 years, $9.5 million is the offer. I might look into Nestor Cortez because it seems like the Yankees are lowballing him a little bit, and I wanted to make sure we'd bring in a lefty at some point in this offseason. And Cortez does have better strikeout numbers than Suarez. Maybe marginally here. And I don't know what's up with the K rates in the show this year. I see a lot of 5s and 6s. To really make him like this deal, we may have to go up to around like $12 million a year. 31 years old. We've offered 4 years, $45 million. That is a much stronger offer than what New York's offering. And then I was curious about Steven Matz. So I wanted to bring in a really solid third pitcher and then maybe somebody else on like a 1-year deal for less money. Matz did have some regression last year. So do you think he could bounce back a little bit towards that 2024 form, or is that asking too much of a guy that's 34? We got 5 offers out right now. I might see how free agency unfolds a bit before continuing. We got the big offer out to Kyle Tucker. We'll see what happens with that. We go through a couple days. We have a new manager. That's excellent news. We have our first move done as we have signed Hunter Harvey to add a really good arm into our bullpen. Last year, I felt like our righties were really inconsistent. Kittredge was the one guy we could count on before you get to Helsley. So targeting a righty middle reliever was another priority. That one is complete. And Kyle Tucker has accepted the Astros offer. That is now off the table. And thankfully, there are still pitchers left that we can talk to then. So I was hoping that if we missed, that we'd still have options left. And we have now signed Nestor Cortez Jr., 83 overall starting pitcher. We signed him to a 4-year contract away from the New York Yankees. And I'm excited to see what kind of an addition he can be for us. I like that 1 through 3 with Burns, Cortez, and Sonny Gray, who's definitely regressed a bit here down to 82. But man, he was lights out, especially late last year. So we missed on Tucker. What are we going to do then in the outfield is the question. Verdugo still out there. Lane Thomas being pursued by the Padres. Part of why I don't want to go after Bo Bichette is I really want to see what Mason Wynn can become in this series, and I don't want to put all the money into Bichette's deal right now, especially because I know his defense isn't great. Mason Wynn has a chance to be a Gold Glove level defender. That contact against lefties did get a lot better. I think I'm pivoting here to Lane Thomas as a target. I don't think I want to go to 5 years necessarily, but I think I can make a really good 3-year offer for him. 20 over 3 is not even $7 million. He's shown 20-plus home run upside, plays good defense. And like I said, I'm not against DHing Donovan, and I like the fit with Thomas defensively. And then I'm trying to decide what I want to do at pitcher here, because I know our future is likely very bright with a lot of our players that we're developing right now. So Dylan Lesko, we hope, can be a starter here before too long. Steve Castilla. We have money to boost this roster. We want to keep room for the future for these guys to join the rotation. We just added Nestor Cortez. So what we can do then is maybe make a more serious 4th edition, really bolster this pitching staff, and then Sonny Gray's a free agent after next year, and perhaps by next season we have 2 of our internal prospects then taking over a couple roles. So do I want to think about potentially giving up a future pick for Gallen, Snell, or Cease? Snell's coming off a year where he gave up more home runs than usual, and it was a bit of a step back. You got Gallen, who is, I think, a more consistent archetype of pitcher. You kind of know what you're getting most of the time. He gave up some homers as well. And then Dylan Cease with the Padres. Good ERA. 4.3 WAR. So it was a very good season for him out west. I don't think that I'm into the high variance play of Blake Snell with all the walks and never knowing if you're getting the elite year or the down year. I'm kind of intrigued here with Paddock, but I know that Gallen and Cease are better. It's just about giving up that pick. And the Diamondbacks gave a big offer to Cease, so I'd have to top that 20+ million a year. No one's there yet on Gallen. Yeah, for Chris Paddock to be interested, we'd have to go well above 20 a year. I think Gallen is the best player for us to try and offer to if we're willing to give up that pick. I was willing to do it for Tucker. Maybe I'll get into the mix here for Zach Gallen. Player option always helps boost things. And I might backload a deal like this. I didn't want to on the Tucker offer because it was 9 years, and I didn't want to stack those late years too much. But on a 5-year deal, to get flexibility for the next couple, I'd probably be into that. So there we have offered to Zach Gallen, which if we made that move happen, then we'd have a lot less space to play with. Let's let things unfold a little bit more now. We successfully re-signed Matt Moore, and the bullpen is looking pretty solid now for next year. Blake Snell to the Pittsburgh Pirates. That's a great park for him. I actually love that move for Pittsburgh. Lane Thomas signs a deal with the St. Louis Cardinals. It is not Kyle Tucker, but I think that does accomplish kind of what I was looking for coming into the offseason. We have the option now of DHing Donovan and getting a boost defensively, so I'm a fan of that. It looks like most of our players have accepted their contracts, but now as we approach the deadline, I'll offer arbitration. Pache's playing hardball even. You gotta be kidding me. I'm not quite sure what to do here to win these offers or the arbitration hearings, but I'll offer a little bit less than the 1 year here that Nolan could take. Again, we have not offered a contract to Dylan Carlson, and it very well could be the end of an era on this channel. The Yankees have acquired Alex Bregman now. Wow. That's a big move. They trade Everson, Pereira, and Roderick Arias. 68 overall, shortstop at 21 years old. That's not bad. So the Astros keep Tucker, but perhaps this was, one of the things they had to do to make it easier to fit. We just got turned down by Zach Gallen, and on top of that, he chose the Philadelphia Phillies, the team that just eliminated us. Maybe we get into the Dylan Cease sweepstakes then. If we want that high ceiling pitcher that could help us build a really nice rotation for the coming year. Only an all-star one time. That's kind of surprising. Wow, he likes the Snakes more than us. We have to boost our money even more. I've made a strong offer, and we've topped Arizona. Jose Alvarado has been traded. He will go to the Braves for Aaron Bummer and Luis Guanipa. That's the big piece of that trade. All right. Couple big trades here. That's kind of fun. Chris Paddock is going to the Reds. That's another pitcher now off the free agent market. Bo Bichette signs a 6-year deal with the Arizona Diamondbacks. 6 years, $150 million. What are they doing with Jordan Lawler? These guys got too many shortstops. Are they giving up on Lawler already? Man, I'd say we should go get him if we didn't already have a guy in the same overall tier also trying to figure it out. Lawler can't play anything else either, so shortstop or bust. And they got Tommy Troy. Like, this is ridiculous. How many shortstops do you need? He's really drawing this out. Dylan Cease, we still have the top offer for him. Maybe I need to sweeten it a little bit more. All right, I'll go to 135 now with the player option. I'm not sure what's going on with Vladdy's market here. I would assume someone throws in a larger offer, but it's also curious he didn't even get the qualifying offer from Toronto. But if they gave it to Bichette, there's only one to go around. That would explain it. And that also means they'd pick Bichette over Vladdy. And Dylan Cease picks the St. Louis Cardinals. Wow, I did not see our rotation going in this direction today. We already have so many great pitching prospects. And now over the past 2 off seasons, we have managed to give this rotation a chance to be really good even without those prospects. So Dylan Cease joins the team, 90 overall. We can build around him for the long haul. We've got Sonny Gray now, 1 year left on his deal. The skills declined a lot. He's down to 82 overall. So I'm happy getting more veteran pitching in here, and I'm cool making those investments. Nestor Cortez, I just felt like the Yankees were undervaluing him, and I wanted to bring in a good lefty, so now we have one. And if we look at our top prospects, wherever they hide that, I don't know where it is. But our prospects are pretty much all righties. And I'd prefer to have at least one starting lefty. Then you throw in, we've extended Ryan Helsley. We signed Jojo Romero. We have really committed to the future of our pitching in this organization. Can you tell I grew up as a Twins fan that watched them be cheap for decades when it came to starting pitching? Never forgive them for trading away Johan Santana. Oh, Tommy's back too. Tommy Edman signed. He didn't get the nice notification there, but we haven't changed this offense significantly, but this is roughly what it could look like. What do we think about Lane Thomas here in right? His hitting ratings do remind me a bit of Dylan Carlson, but he's produced far more. Carlson has struggled to even be a double-digit home run hitter. That's not an issue for Lane Thomas. It's the draft lottery, and the White Sox have the top odds for the number 1 pick, along with the New York Mets and Kansas City Royals. Doesn't matter for us, but we're going to be picking at 21st overall. We know that for sure. Why does this take so long? White Sox, they get the number 1 pick. Nationals pick second. Mets, Rockies, and then the San Francisco Giants. Not bad. They went up 6 spots projected. I think our pitching is set now. We're going to have a competition to see who becomes that 5th starter. And then I think we have options as well for adding to this bullpen. And what we're probably going to see is the return of Andre Palante, but there's more. We got Adam Kloffenstein down there as well, 59 overall. After seeing the Ryan Fernandez year 1 play out, I will not be afraid to give guys like Kloffenstein a chance despite a lower overall. Relief pitching is a weird game. And there's also Matthew Liberatore, another lefty who was down at AAA all of last year. So we can handle filling in that last spot internally along with the starting pitching. And now we have to figure out what's going to happen with this bench. So Lane Thomas gives us some righty power, kind of replacing J.D. Davis and what he brought to the table offensively, but doing it with defensive skill in the outfield. So I guess I'm wondering now who that primary bench outfielder is going to be, and given Scott right now is penciled into a starting role, that's kind of a high priority. I actually wonder if it wouldn't be a bad idea to see if Norris Sullivan could potentially be ready. Switch hitter, solid, well-rounded offensive player, and very close to his potential already. If he's about as good as he's ever going to be, I'm more inclined to get the early look, and I think it might make sense to have him on the bench this year. And then for options, alongside him, there's Will Brennan, Joe Adell, Christian Pache. There's plenty of outfielders we could give a chance to, but I don't know if there's anyone you'd be super confident in. Jose Leclerc has been acquired. The Braves get him from the Diamondbacks. For Hurston Waldrop, they just traded their first-round pick in 2023 for Jose Leclerc. Wow. And it's the Rule 5 draft. What do we got in store today? We had a handful of players here taken. I think I have enough outfielders on the roster to not go down this road again. And given the way the rosters come together this year, I believe we need to pass on the Rule 5 draft. I do want to add depth, though. Like, there's just not much here at shortstop. Trey Richardson, 67 overall with D potential. More minor league player than prospect because of that potential. Edman on a 1-year deal. And then Mason Wynn's a question mark. I do have interest here in Jeremiah Jackson, who is 26 years old. Solid defender, 70 overall. It's not bad. And we can sign him to a minor league deal. So that's kind of an easy call there. I'm looking for a backup infielder right now. Somebody that could handle playing some short if they needed to. Elvis Martinez. See, I don't want him on the bench quite yet. I want him developing more at AAA. I don't know how Thomas Sujezi became a free agent. I thought I gave him an offer, but let's make sure that gets corrected. If I want to sign just like a veteran shortstop to be on the bench, I might make that move later, but somebody like Nick Allen could be signed for $1 million or less. I also want to bring back Levon Soto. I think I balked earlier when it was $750,000, but now I know it'll fit fine. Michael King signs with the New York Mets, 4 years, $48.8 million. Josh Naylor to the Reds, 4 years, $32? Yeah, something has gotten worse with free agency in this game. With what players are demanding and what teams are willing to offer, doesn't quite make sense. We were able to bring in Soto, Sujezi, and Jeremiah Jackson. And I believe everybody that was arbitration eligible just signed. So we shouldn't have any arbitration hearings. And we've made it to spring training. And I'm pretty excited about this roster. I love the pitching staff. This is going to be really fun to see how it comes together this year and now into next year as we'll start to transition and have more of these prospects take on these big roles. But now, with Burns, Cortez, and Cease, we don't need them to like step in and be the ace right now. There's still time for them to develop and not be rushed along, which is better for the team long term, I believe. And Vladimir Guerrero decided he will stay in Toronto. They made it work, and that's not the contract I'd have expected. So how do we think this team looks heading into Season 3? I feel like we just made this team better. What I'm wondering is, will guys like Donovan and Walker be able to keep up what they did a year ago? So much of this roster had their best seasons. What if someone regresses? What does that mean for the team? What if Nolan's play falls off a cliff this year? That's very possible. He missed time last year. His slash line went down in every category. We'll see. But I think that by bolstering the pitching staff, it's undoubtedly better than it was. And we had a lot of investment in it. Now we have money spent on much more talent, I'd say. Like the money that was paid to Michaelis, Gibson, and Matz, basically we turned that 3-player value into Cease plus Cortez. I think that even if the hitting takes a step back, and I just think that's likely that happens, that the pitching can make up for it. And the pitching is only going to get better looking at the prospects. That's how I see this team. So now we got to figure out what this 26-man roster is going to look like and get a bench sorted out. Got to do a little bit of thinking on that one, but that is our team going into Season 3. I laid out what I was looking for before the offseason, and I think that I accomplished what I was looking for. The big investment was that pitcher, not somewhere in the outfield, but I like the way this all gets pieced together. What do you think about the team, everybody? Let me know down below in the comment section. And when it comes to the young prospects that are looking for a chance to make this roster, who do you think deserves the opportunity to play and earn opportunities going into this next year? Let me know down below, and I will see you all next time in the Cardinals franchise as we prepare for the 3rd year in this series. Please leave a like if you haven't done so already. Those are very helpful to the series. I'd very much appreciate it. Subscribe to the channel for much more Cardinals franchise and college football 25 too. I'm excited for that. But have a great day, everybody. And of course, I'll see you all next time.